Welcome, everybody. It is 7 o'clock, so we will get started. Welcome to the December board meeting. It's awesome to see so many faces out in the crowd tonight. So thank you for being here, and we're happy to have you. We have everyone present. We got Tricia on the screen tonight. We're all here. And we will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able to stand, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, small, justice for all.
So we have a fun way to kick off the meeting tonight. We have a Lake George Lakers logo presentation. We have our superintendent, Mr. John Luthringer, our high school principal, Mr. Frank Acosa, and our student committee presenting tonight. So I'll hand it off to you guys.
Yes, thank you, Katie and the Board of Education. We're excited to be here tonight. We're going to call up our members of our committee. Mr. Manny, Mr. Conway is going to be part of this at some point as well, Mr. Acosa, and we're going to get going here. I'll use the clicker. So, I have another mic here. Turn this on. Who's going first? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for having us. We look to be all set. And just before we kick off here with our presentation, I'll talk about the students in a minute, and so will Mr. Acosa, but this has been over a year in the making as we transitioned on September 1st officially to become the Lakers again, which is our original nickname in Lake George. So we're excited about that. And really since September 1st, we've undertaken this process to develop a logo, to develop a brand for Lake George, and really some more, which we're going to show you. And we're really excited about that. Our students here that are representing have been part of this journey with us for, again, dating well back over a year ago. They've been integral to this process, and we're really excited to dive right in and share our news with you today.
Okay, thank you, John. So we have a rock star group that has been our student advisory panel for the better part of a year and a half, as John has alluded to. We did have some members last year graduate as they were seniors and now are on their new chapter in life. However, our current membership are listed on the screen there. And through nomination, but also through their hectic schedules, we determined through them volunteering that Osram, Ali, and Anna would assist Mr. Luthringer, Mr. Manny, and I tonight in the presentation. But John and I can't emphasize so much how much appreciation we have for these students, the dedication, the commitment, and the sacrifices that they've given throughout this process. But also, it's put them in a role that takes some courage and leadership among the student body to not only present their thoughts, but also what the student body is thinking.
So we started this process, as I mentioned, in September. The first part of the process was really to start gathering student feedback on logo and mascot ideas. So again, this group here that you saw there, that list of students, really were charged with going out, seeking feedback, talking to the student body, talking to student council, and really then we met to really look at different options that students presented. So we looked at different designs. We had students draw some designs. We had staff members draw some designs, and they presented their thoughts to the committee. The committee, we compiled all of that. We captured their thoughts, and then we started to share their thoughts with our graphic designers. That started in October, and really all the way up till now. It's been a little bit of a longer process, but it was very, very thorough. We anticipated potentially being done early, but we spent a lot of time really fine-tuning things in a cycle with our student advisory group. So our Capital Region BOCES artists worked well on this, along with Jostens. So Jostens came to the table. They reached out to us. We have a very strong relationship with Jostens through the yearbook and other sorts of, the rings, school rings, all sorts of different things. And they reached out and said, hey, we'd love to help you with this. We have, this is what we do. We make branding guides for districts, and we have graphic designers on staff that would love to help you. So we enlisted their support as well. And then they started to submit designs. We would meet with our student advisory committee. They would look at them, they would provide feedback. We had sessions with the artist live who was zooming in from Minnesota, which was interesting, the land of 10,000 lakes. So he had a connection to Lake George from that regard. And we started this sort of back and forth multiple times, several different iterations of what you will see for several weeks until we landed on what we're proud of and what the committee felt they were excited about to move forward with.
So throughout the aforementioned process, we were guided by about 6 principles, the first of which is representing the entire student body while embodying the positive traits and qualities of our students, representing the best in order to be the best, if you will. Secondly, honoring our local history, school traditions, and acknowledging the school connection to the region, which you can see by the fact that we reverted to our original nickname. Thirdly, we aim to, and we already have, promoted school pride and generated excitement through this new mascot and reflected our entire community's opinion and the create values while meeting the requirements of the current New York State regulation, which has already happened through our new name, and also aligning to identifiable branding in the existing school colors, the navy, the Carolina, the gray, white, and lastly, being unique but not incredibly obscure. I promise you that there's no other mascot in the area that is quite as unique and expressive as the Lakers. Thank you.
So pretty much what the student advisory group gathered from our fellow peers was a set of different ideals and just, I guess, guidelines that pretty much majority of the student body wanted our new mascot to embody. And for starters, we wanted to keep some of the variations of our own logos. You'll see that through different variations of the LG symbol that we'll show later on in the presentation. We wanted to really incorporate the imagery associated with Lake George and really honor the beauty of our area through images of the lake, the mountains, the forest, and boats, which you'll see in the logo. We obviously wanted to keep with our traditional existing colors, the navy blue and the white, as well as like Carolina blue to add in just touches and a pop of color. We wanted to really have an updated and fresh image, something completely original. And like Osram alluded to, that's definitely what our new mascot embodies. And just in general, our student body had a really strong desire to have a mascot and an image to associate with and just to embody the Lake George spirit and the spirit of our athletics as well as our community. And a major consensus was that students wanted a connection with Georgie, which is often associated with the elementary school and art class. I remember doing projects with it and learning about the tale of it, and students thought it'd be a really cool idea if Georgie kind of grew up with us and she, or whatever, went from the elementary school, a very like kind and welcoming image, to kind of more a fierce and energetic image in the high school to really represent the competitiveness of our athletics.
So one of the things before we get into the different images here is that part of this is going to include a very clear and consistent brand features through a published Lake George branding guide. So we will have a document that will live on our website that can be shared to various constituent groups or the community, and that will define aspects of our brand. For example, it will fully define the colors, the blue, the Carolina blue, the white. So if I were a person who wanted to, for example, paint a bedroom or paint something, I could go to Sherwin-Williams or Lowe's and I can actually have that number and I say, I want Lake George blue, I want Lake George Carolina blue. I can actually get that exact paint color. So that's really important, really important to have. The guide will also define the font. So you'll see a couple of variations of the district font that will be part of the brand. And also there will be a definition of logos. So you'll see though, that when we go through them, there is a variety, as Anna spoke to, which is something that we felt was really important, a blend of historical and a blend of new. There was a high level focus on student input, as you've heard tonight. And the logos can be used in a variety of ways. We're not just singling out certain ones to be used in certain avenues or certain silos of our district. For example, you won't see a name this is an athletic one, or this is an academic one, or this is only going to be used on letterhead. These are logos that can be used across the district. However, someone might feel which one is best to be used. So that's something that we felt very passionately about as well.
And additionally, you think of any commercial logos or companies, for example, when a FedEx truck goes by, it's definitely, you see it, you know it, you understand the company just through the logo. Our goal here, our focus here is that for the first time, at least the time that Mr. Conway and I have been here and beyond, our school district will have an identifiable logo that's consistently utilized. So when folks see it, they recognize it immediately. Oh, that's Lake George Schools. There we go.
So first we have the interlocking LG, which is obviously a very historical logo. It has been around for well over 100 years. And we kind of have just taken it and updated it a little bit. As you can see, there's 4 different variations, 3 of them being with our main school colors and what our school colors have been defined as. And the reason for these different colors and different colorways are for whether it be athletic uniforms, shirts for the robotics program or an FBLA team. These can go on different colored shirts. So the interlocking LG logo could work on a navy blue shirt or a white shirt. And then the 4th one that we have is kind of representative of our region and of the area. It has, as you can see, it has mountains. It has a little lake beneath it, and you can see that with the reflection of the mountains. And I personally really like that one and how it is updated with the older interlocking LG and also has some more modern aspects and represents our region.
That's good.
Yeah, so this will be in the branding guide, it will be identified as our primary logo. This is our LG, couldn't say it any better than Ali said. So the next few that you're going to see are really just looking at the fonts, and I'll have the students chime in as well here. So you can see this is an identifiable font. Again, this will be a school district word mark. So you'll notice that underneath Lake George, that can be swapped out. So it can be, for example, this is what it would look like with the elementary school, and this is what it would look like as well with the junior, senior high school. But that can be swapped out to include any sort of activity, club, or athletic sport as well. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so with this, with many different, again, uniforms, club shirts, there have been different ways of putting Lake George and representing our school. And this is something that can have some consistency throughout all of our programs, which I think is something very important because it really shows the uniformity of our school and how, although we have all these different and unique programs that all succeed in their own ways, we're all under this one entity. And I think that's something that is really cool about having one unique figure of Lake George with the fonts.
This is a secondary logo. Any thoughts here, Anna Osram?
So as you can see, it's kind of a variation of the other one, but I really like the outline, kind of like the trees and the mountains, and it's like a skyline of Lake George, and I think it's just a really nice touch to really elevate the logo. So
it also speaks specifically to the fact that the students want to incorporate the lake into the logo. And retired Mayor Bob Blaze always said, if you don't have the lake, you don't have Lake George. And for the longest time, our logo didn't have the lake in it. And thanks to our students and their feedback, this secondary logo incorporates a big portion of the lake in the logo.
And continuing quick off of what Mr. Kokoza said, our nickname, the Lakers, I think it's very important that we have the lake in these things because, I mean, from what I gathered, many people as the Lakers wanted it to be very representative of the lake because that is what our school is based off of, our name, Lake George, and we have the lake. And that is something that I personally really like, that we have the lake incorporated here.
The next one is what we're calling the district seal. So it's a different shape. You'll see a different shape of it. And you'll also see the nickname Lakers incorporated into it, but similar imagery to the other logo as well.
Personally, this is also one of my favorites because, like Ollie mentioned before, it's just that perfect blending of like a modern touch. Like there's a new generation, there's new people with new aspirations, but also brings in that recurring theme of like the lake. This is our living, this is our prosperity. So it really does like tie in and connect things, which, you know, also unifies the school. People need morale to be built in a fantastic way to do that is by having those unifying graphics, those unifying colors. That's why high schools do that. And I think it's like this is a great demonstration of Lake George really just like modernizing and retelling our story in a way to unify our community again, because it incorporates so many of those elements that we spoke of before.
So now we're getting into some additional word marks. This is specific to Lakers. So again, this is another variation of what could be displayed on apparel or, you know, documents or really anything. And again, it's just a variation of the word Lake George Lakers.
Once again, it's incorporating all of our school colors. And again, like I've said 2 or 3 times before, it can be used on a sports uniform, a shirt for any club. And once again, I like how it says Lakers, which is our nickname, and it has like the little waves representative of the lake that we have right here and what our new nickname is based off of.
The next few are just, or this next example is just what it could look like with different athletic teams or any other teams. We can insert, we work with our graphic designer, and they'll be giving us, we're providing them actually a list of all the clubs, activities, and sports, and they will be making all of the images that we can use. So there'll be a variety, and we can always add on to this, but this is what it would look like with some additional words underneath. And then we're going to transition here to talk about the mascot. So one of the things that was very clear from the students was, yes, we want logos, but yes, we also would like a mascot. So we have explored a variety of different things, and we're going to talk a little bit about the inspiration for that. And I know their students, Mr. Conway is also going to chime in as well. So we're going to just dive right in.
Yeah, so some of these images will be familiar to folks, and I'm excited that I get an opportunity to share this. And Anna, that's interesting that you remember writing about the Georgie monster. But as we know, the Lake George monster is a hoax, not real, right? 2 guys way back when made a bet to see who was going to catch the biggest fish. And one of the gentlemen had a fake fish. It wasn't one he caught in the lake. And from a distance, these 2 guys were Harry Watrous and William Mann back in 1904. And Mann shows him this 40-foot fish from a distance, and the guy believes it. He loses the bet, but he later finds out it was a hoax. So to get back at him, what does he create?
Georgie?
Yeah, that he put in various spots in the lake, and he would raise and lower this, and that started the whole myth or the whole hoax about Georgie. Well, you fast forward to 1997, and Mr. Ross was the principal, and when he left, we didn't really have like a set logo for the elementary school. So Mr. Besson came along, and he just started using the one that the high school had, the LG. But not everybody liked that. The high school said, well, wait a minute, that's ours. Mr. Besson said, can I use? No, that's the high school, the LG. You need to come up with your own. So he had a contest, and I see Jan back there, and she probably remembers this. And the students submitted entries, and it wound up like 7 or 8 entries, and one of them is right here. I still have the original. And he's got that. And that was the original Georgie. It was created by Mr. Besson's son, Bo, and another boy named Pierre Blair. And they combined their 2 images, and the art teacher at the time encouraged them to do that, Karen Merrill. So all of a sudden, Georgie made his way, or her way, whatever we decide. Georgie made its way to our shirts, our letterhead, wound up in the pages of memory books, and became an image that we all know today. But Georgie's not really tough looking, right? It looks gentle and peaceful. So I don't know what you all did with Georgie, but that's the history of Georgie from the elementary school.
Thank you, Mr. Conway.
So the students' feedback was they want to incorporate something like Georgie. However,
So the students did have a very strong desire for an actual mascot because our school named the Lakers. It's kind of tough to come up with a mascot for that. And looking back on the elementary school and Georgie, we thought and other students thought it could be a good idea to, as mentioned before, kind of have Georgie grow up with us, except also have Georgie become more fierce as we get into the elementary school. Because although it is a beautiful student-made design, it's not exactly fierce and isn't quite something that, again, for the fifth or so time, our athletics or any other team competing can really show as us showing up to battle and to compete and to win. But that was definitely one thing. The students had a desire to have a mascot, and this group and others thought it would be a good idea to have Georgie kind of grow up alongside us.
I think that's an incredible setup to the big unveiling. You guys ready? The first time
Ready.
publicly seen.
Here we go. Here's Georgie. Any thoughts?
So Georgie has been through a lot over the past few weeks. We've had a lot of disagreements in our meetings about what Georgie should look like and logo should embody. We've looked at so many different designs, and this is ultimately what we've come down to. But even then, there is still room for improvements to be made. So we're open to that, definitely.
So,
Sorry. Yes, so the original design that the graphic designer created was a bit different than this. It was much more of a dragon rather than a aquatic animal. And that was one thing that we touched on, was making it a lot more like a lake monster. Once again, to kind of represent that it is a lake that we are in, and we are the Lakers, and this is coming from a lake. And that was one thing that we really changed and talked about with the designer.
And that's really just like in order to characterize it and make it, us, like this generation, like this is how we feel about our community and our location, and really just making it like individualized so every person who passes through Lake George can think like, hey, that's me, that's us, that's Lake George. And that's really what we aspire to do and have like the future and right now, like have students think when they look at our symbol and graphics.
we have a couple variations, as you've seen across the way. We've had secondary logos. So you'll remember that there was other concepts in addition, for a boat, lake, imagery. So these are some different examples here, which alternate logos to the mascot. One of them is a crest in the middle. Then we have the alternate one with the boat representing Lake George. As we all know, lots of boats on Lake George. And then mascot logo 2, which includes the word Lakers underneath as well. Any final thoughts from our students on these?
There's some really great iterations, in my opinion, because again, like one design, if we're going to be trying to represent the whole student body, you've got to have variety. So I think we all appreciate the different iterations, like the involvement of the boat, just like the simpler design. That seal, I could see it being for like Quiz Bowl, for FBLA, for Bex, like a variety of different organizations, and the others are more suited for athletics. So again, like it's great how we can just cater to everything that our school pursues, because it's quite a lot of pursuits we have.
So I would like to say, as second what Mr. Kokoza and Mr. Luthringer said, our student advisory group here has done an amazing job, and they deserve to be commended for their time and their efforts, not just the ones here presenting, but the entire group. And as they said, they did put a lot of time, effort, and thought, and really kept us to those guiding principles. And as they've said a lot tonight, we couldn't have said it any better. And I think I know that I owe them a debt of gratitude, and we're very excited for this next chapter. So what are those next steps? So the next steps are we're going to be sharing all of these images, this branding guide that we've been talking about with the school and the greater community. We're going to be working with our students to celebrate these new logos, these new images, this new branding. Excuse me, with that branding guide, as Mr. Luthringer said, it'll be put on our website, and we'll be sharing the electronic files in the variety of formats that different people need. So that'll go out to our coaches so they can be working on it with their uniforms or different gear and bags that they make up for the kids. Our booster club will be getting all these files. They'll be doing, I'm sure, a big apparel sale and a push there. Our PTSO, our staff, again, getting all these images so this brand can go out. And we'll begin to change over to these new logos. You'll see them on the district website, on the letterhead, on presentations. And we're very excited to have this guide, right? This branding guide that, as we said, has some variety in it, but again, gives us that clearly defined group of images and logos that really define who we are as Lake George. And we're excited to take that next step.
Before we open it up to questions here to the board, I just want to have a surprise for our students here. So as Mr. Manny said, our students have done a tremendous job. These students are so busy, and we just want to provide them with a thanks to their dedication and their work with us for over a year. So these are our students who have the very first shirts of our Georgie. So we've got shirts for all of you. We'll get. I just want to give a special thanks to Hallware. They donated all of these as well. They've been a great partner of ours over the years as well. So a big thanks to Hallware. And we've got shirts for all of our students. We'll figure out sizes later, but here, grab a couple.
So we didn't script this. And I want to echo what has been said, just the thoughts and feelings that our three superstars have presented to the Board of Ed tonight through this historic moment of unveiling the new logo and mascot for Lake George Schools. So gratitude from us, especially to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to order my first sweatshirt, and I'm not sure which design I'm gonna get. I love that there was such a focus on unifying the Lake George community and making all feel welcome. It's great, and things look beautiful. So thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? Mario?
I was writing questions during the. Seems like we're done. It seems like the process is done.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we're there'll be information sent out to parents, staff, and the media tonight.
Pictures of Georgie from the other student did. Scott's that considered, because again, we have honor from students. This would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, so as we said, we did have some students submit different designs, a handful of students. Some of them are actually part of the committee. We also had a staff member submit some designs as well. So that became kind of sort of an inspiration. So those were submitted to the graphic designer prior to their even doing anything. So we submitted those along with all the feedback. So we sat in a room for probably an hour just typing up feedback from our students that was sent off to the designer, who then took that and then took their inspiration and created something. So that is how it happened. But there were, to answer your question, yes, there were some that were submitted.
And this has not gone out to, so one of the slides talks about the students. But the student voice is represented by this group, not all the other students in the senior high school.
Can I, Mike, I have a question that kind of goes it's similar, I guess, in a little bit. So by using the graphic designer from Johnston's, is that who ended up doing it? Does that like, is that, because it's a for-profit company, so do they own it? And like when other people want to use the logo, do we have to pay them
Nope.
to use it or anything like that?
No, actually, today there was language from Jostens. We own all the logos and images. We've released, they're completely released from any expectations or anything like that. They are our images to use and they're our images to own.
That's great. Okay. Is there any thought of having an actual live mascot in a Georgie costume? Come on.
I'm for that. So
That's so cool. Good. That's the future.
We haven't gotten
Oh, that outfit's gonna be fun.
I know, like a big long tail. There you go.
I'm sorry. I have
It's
one more.
awesome, guys. It's so cool.
It
Love
absolutely, listen, and it's a lot of work that was put in by everybody. If I asked the student committee one by one, do they feel that this is an accurate representation of the student body and what they would want and what they will sign on to? Because ultimately it's everybody's logo now.
So one thing I kind of think is, now we did have a couple designs that were submitted by students, but I don't know if it was as open. So personally, I had one person come and submit a design to me, and that was my guide room teacher's daughter. And as she handed it to me, Mrs. Howe is my guide room teacher. They expressed that they weren't wholeheartedly confident it was going to be talked about and discussed. So I think the students and the couple people that did have designs and ideas and submitted them, they were kind of, I don't really know the word for it. They weren't certain that it was going to be brought up. And I do think that there were more people in the school who had ideas, and more students especially, and they didn't really know how to share them and weren't able to share them. That's my thought on this.
Yeah, so down the road, we might need to open it up a little bit differently to get more student body involved.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So Ollie almost took the words out of my mouth. When it came down to what was submitted and what we saw, if we're based completely just on that, I would say that 100% totally represented it.
Great.
But then again, that brings up the question, like, that pool of submissions, was that as large and expansive and as diverse as it could have been?
Sure.
That's a little bit of the issue that goes through my mind. But otherwise, I would say that representation made sense. It was according to the ideas and concepts and submissions and styles that were brought up. It's really just could that pool have been bigger?
Sure.
That's the only issue that I can think of. But other than that, I feel representation was accurate.
And this is the first time in a long time that we've done something this big.
Mhm.
And so at least we can learn something from it. But what we've got so far is stunning. Okay, thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything that Osram and Oliver said. I do think it's important to note, though, that we were given this opportunity along with other students, and we did volunteer for this. But at the same time, obviously, there's always more we could be doing to get more student input with everything. So I think that, like, from here on out, definitely changing the way we go about things is definitely something we'll keep in mind. But yeah, I completely with what Osram said, though. Like, from the pool that we did get, it was very representative of the feedback that we got. But yeah.
It was our last meeting, so yesterday, was that there was like a lack of standardized submission, which did ultimately mean that the submissions we did receive were from the people most eager and most passionate, which matters. But nonetheless, that lack of standardized submission, I feel, did have an impact on the amount of submissions we had in the first place. So
Thank you.
Just one more quick thing, Mr. Fasulo, you had touched on before about, I believe was it 7 submissions for the old Georgie mascot? I personally would have loved to see a more official thing, again, with the students voicing their designs and even possibly a vote. Now, I do feel it's necessary to have a designer to, if we did go to a vote, touch it up, because there's all these things with the sizing and everything. But I love how the original Georgie was really completely student made and even had students collaborate. And I understand that we wanted to kind of make this quick with getting a new mascot, but also be thorough. And once again, with what Anna and Osram said, I think making it more widely available to the students could have increased the pool and made it much more of an entire student thing.
From talking with your fellow students, have any kind of feeling of like how controversial it's going to be, or if it's mostly being accepted, or, you know, like, what's the feeling around school about this?
I feel like not even around like the Lakers logo, but just in general, I feel like there's still controversy about changing our name in the first place. So I feel like if anything, that's the topic I hear discussed more. Otherwise, I'm not sure how this is how this is gonna sit with the community. I feel like everyone on the committee is proud of it, and we feel good about it. But again, not everyone is gonna be happy, as we know.
So just adding on to what Anna said, the committee is definitely proud of our work. You know, again, a year at it, we deserve to be. So when it comes down to it, there are people who are still stuck on the fact that we're not keeping the Warrior name, which, you know, what can you do? Okay. I feel that it's dying down, but it's slowly. Which again, like, sorry to revert back to a prior point, but that's the importance of student representation and diversity in submissions. So that when we come out with this new logo and these colors that have been refreshed and this entirely new graphics plan, it's not like a brazen out of the blue thing. It's something that students have been aware that our intake is being appreciated. So I feel like we did a good job of that for the most part, but then again, just the few points that we had made beforehand were the only things I really think could have improved the community, student, and teacher reaction to the overall outcome and result of the graphics plan.
So no one, I mean, this is the first time the logo has been seen, so none of our fellow students know what it is and how it looks and all of that. One thing that we would have liked to incorporate but wasn't really incorporated was that actual lake outline, which I think a lot of people did want incorporated, but it is kind of difficult and it looks a bit off-putting, but like kind of just where we had it in the different designs. But it is something that I think would be nice to still try to incorporate, because we do have the other things with Lake George and the mountains and the lake. But other than the Lake George wording, there's nothing really saying it's Lake George. So I think that's one thing that people aren't going to be thrilled with, is that there's no definite outline of the lake.
Sorry, keep on stealing the microphone. But other than that, I feel like people, like students especially, are really going to be happy with the fact that we've got new colors, we've got a fierce new mascot. Let's be honest, Lake George, our graphics representation beforehand, you could tell that it was made in the 1900s. You could tell that the interlocking LG, it's a great design, and we should keep it, but the vector itself hasn't been remade or republished in years. And so I feel like there's going to be a great reaction to the fact that we've got this new mascot that really represents the new generation. And so no matter what the content or the concept of it is, I think, and I can foresee that there's going to be a pleasant, like, this is what we need kind of reaction to the new, more modern version.
And one more really quick thing. As Osram said about the colors, I personally am thrilled that we finally have definite colors that represent our school and that they can be found and put on everything very easily through the website. That's something that I'm really excited about and was really forward with, about having definite colors that everyone can find and use for Lake George apparel.
So we're still talking about how we're going to celebrate that, but there will, as there will be notifications today through Parent Square tonight. Marianne, I think you had a question.
Oh, not really a question. I just wanted to express gratitude for the student leadership of this group, and that is including the open reflection of your process tonight. And I think that, and also rooting this presentation in historical context that connects to our identity here in Lake George. And I think it goes a long way to help people, to understand where this has come, how you've arrived here. And I really appreciate your leadership with that, and the length of time, the amount of time and effort that you've put into the process. I'm really excited too that you're helping us come into focus with the branding, with the font, with the colors. I mean, all of, logo, mascot aside, those were elements that could be, that we haven't had in place, as Mr. Kokosa said, for a long time. And so I like that we're coming into focus. I really like that the lake is featured strongly in these images, because identity, a sense of place is really important, and connecting our identities to our place is really powerful. And water, it's often considered a symbol of renewal and new beginnings, and how perfect, so excellent job, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted
Oh.
to say, you've done an incredible job. You're very impressive. I think the administrators also should be commended for being so collaborative. And, a lot of thought has gone into this. You spent a year doing this that's a long time. It's very impressive. Thank you very much for all your time and all the thought that you put into this. Very nice, and I think the community will appreciate it.
Okay, let's give our whole student committee a round of applause again. Thank you so much. Thank you. So our next agenda item is another fun agenda item. It's the Lake George Alumni Association update and recognition of Barbara Parsons Langworthy. So welcome.
Once again, update the Board of Ed on the activities of the Alumni Association. But I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am that we're on an agenda that followed that presentation. That we got to be here for the public unveiling, that we got to listen to and learn about, as you said, an impressive and thoughtful process, and 3 very impressive and thoughtful students. So bravo to them. So bringing it back to the alumni, we are an association of 10 directors. We added a new director this year. We are elected by membership, and we represent a span of classes from 1970 to the class of 2015. So in addition to myself, our directors include Andrea Siemens, Lexi Parker, Glenn Bruning, Gail Crandall, Todd Earl, Mary Bueller, Hannah Fetterman, Tucker Mogren, and Janet Lunan. So 2023 has been a busy year for us. We started the year on January 7th with our 2nd annual alumni basketball tournament in the high school gym. There were alumni basketball tournaments in the past, but they were never sponsored by the Alumni Association. So we're counting this one in 2023 as our 3rd alumni basketball tournament. Last year, we had 5 teams. We had approximately 50 alumni that participated. And while it wasn't designed to be a significant fundraiser for us, we invite the junior class to fundraise by operating a concession stand. And we see a lot of families during that day. So our 3rd tournament is on December 30th. And of course, we do rely on a lot of help from school personnel, especially Frank Kokosa, Chris Mandela, and Kyle Manny. We held our annual meeting on March 1st from the Alumni Room, and we're grateful to be able to return to the Alumni Room after the pandemic. And we conduct our regular monthly meetings there, and they're held on the 1st Wednesday of each month at 6:30. On May 4th, we partnered with Tony and Robin Cherivalli at their Mezzaluna restaurant for our annual Chicken Parm dinner fundraiser. We prepared 100 dinners for pickup, and the funds were used to support the Lake George Vex robotics team to assist them with their trip to the World's competition and also for the junior class for their after prom party. In June, we awarded a $2,500 scholarship each to Gina Fasulo and Caroline Campbell during their senior awards ceremony at the junior senior high school. We also had our annual ice cream social for the senior class at graduation rehearsal. In August, we assisted the class of 2013 with their 10-year class reunion at Sunnyside Par 3. And then on September 23rd, we held our annual fall alumni reception this year at Blue 32, where we also launched our 2023 calendar raffle fundraiser to raise funds for our scholarships. If you're not familiar with this fundraiser, we partner with local businesses who sponsor a day in the month of October. For a cash amount. We sell raffle tickets, and then we have a drawing all month long in October where the lucky winner gets to win the amount on that date of the month. We're especially grateful to the Crescido family for the second year in a row sponsoring our grand prize of $1,000, which happens mid-month. But all of our sponsors, we've had a lot of repeat sponsors and a lot of good attention from this particular fundraiser. And we raised just over $7,000, so it was definitely worth the effort. On November 25th, we had our first annual volleyball tournament, and we partnered with volleyball coaches Julia Hall, Abby Lynch, and Brittany Rodriguez to assess the interest in this area. We believe the experiment was a good success, and we look forward to building upon it next year. And as we look to 2024, we will continue to help alumni stay connected, celebrate our connections with each other in our schools and community. So now I'd like to ask Fran Kokoza if he could come up and join me.
Thank you, Sally. And I'm going to have Lexi Parker come up as well to join Sally and I. Lexi is from the class of 2015. So tonight, as you know, on the agenda, we're going to pause and honor a fairly incredible individual. Barbara Langworthy is a graduate of Lake George High School, a distinguished graduate, and she wrote our alma mater. I had the pleasure, thanks to Gloria Gilman, another alumnus of Lake George High School, to connect with Barbara on Friday on the phone. Barbara lives in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, lives alone, and in 8 days turns 100 years old. Barbara recounted like it was yesterday when she first met me 15 years ago. I can't say I remember meeting her, but she remembered me. And she remembered with quite accuracy how it came to pass that she wrote the alma mater for the Lake George schools. So on Friday, she shared with me that she was a sophomore, just 15 years old at the time, and the year was 1939. Barbara was inspired by her mother, who taught at the Glens Falls Common School, also known as the Abe Wing School. And Barbara would hear from her mother the alma mater of the Glens Falls School. And one day, when her mom was on the piano and singing the Glens Falls School alma mater together with her daughter, Barbara said to her mother, "I wish Lake George had an alma mater." And her mother said, "Well, then write one." So shortly after that, Barbara wrote one and presented it to Principal Bob Lubanowski, the first verse of the alma mater. And she recounted on Friday that he really, really liked it, her exact words. However, he wanted another verse. He thought it was too short. So she went home and wrote a second verse. That Friday, the next day, Principal Lubanowski presented Barbara in front of the entire school. Now it's 1939, so the school was very small. He had her present the alma mater to the entire school. and the school loved it. So Mr. Horn, who was a music teacher at the time, assisted the music with the lyrics. It was set to the melody of America the Beautiful, and it was a perfect fit. And the rest is history. And since 1939, this alma mater has been the alma mater of the Lake George High School and the Lake George school system, because even the elementary school embraced it as well. So on the phone Friday, I decided to sing as best as I could the alma mater to Barbara. Oh boy, she corrected me. And since the better part of the past nearly 75 years, our school system has been saying the wrong words, specifically 2 words. So we will correct it so that history is accurate to how she originally wrote the alma mater. In fact, one of the words in the second verse, shall live forevermore, she very quickly corrected me. It should say, shall dwell forevermore. So the Alumni Association passed a proclamation honoring Barbara Parsons Langworthy from the class of 1941, which Lexi Parker from the class of 2015, the secretary of the Alumni Association, is going to read.
Thank you. So, in recognition of Barbara Parsons Langworthy, class of 1941, whereas the verses of Lake George High School alma mater are well known to all Lake George alumni, recited at every commencement ceremony, at moving up ceremonies, at concerts and other events, and at home basketball games when Lake George cheerleaders took to the floor at halftime. And whereas these memorable verses reflect the strong connection Lake George alumni have to our school and its majestic surroundings, and the appreciation we carry for having been prepared for the years ahead. And whereas the beloved author of these famous verses, Barbara Parsons Langworthy, Lake George class of 1941, is on the eve of her 100th birthday, now be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Lake George High School Alumni Association, Incorporated, hereby recognizes and congratulates Barbara Parsons Langworthy, class of 1941, for her enduring contribution to our Lake George schools, and send her all the best wishes as she celebrates this milestone with friends and family.
So, very appropriate for tonight, because she was a Laker. In the time that Barbara walked these halls, Lake George was the Lakers. Everyone received a copy of the alma mater, and our 2 alumnus are going to not sing it, but at least start it, lead us all, and we ask the audience as well to sing the alma mater with us. Our chorus today recorded the version of it. We will sing the first verse up to the Adirondack Arms. So if you're able to rise, please do so.
Not ready to.
Oh, lake of crystal waters, surrounded by yon hills, the mountain peaks rise up to kiss the blue skies and grills. Our high school stands up on the mount. We set over trust. God, sorrow, in the
So a huge happy birthday to Barbara Parsons Langworthy, and a huge congratulations to our school district for embracing this alma mater for so long.
Thank you for reminding us that Barbara was in the time of the Lakers and that historical piece. So it's a nice that we had these 2 things combined tonight. The next item on the agenda is the school lunch update, and Miss Bonnie Hart will give us that.
Great. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. In the December Audit and Finance meeting, I gave a rather thorough presentation on what the community eligibility provision meant, specifically for us here at Lake George as well. So we decided it would be helpful hearing the abbreviated version, getting right to the points. So starting with what is CEP? Again, that's community eligibility provision. And what does it mean for us? So I'm the one in charge of this. Okay. Oh, well, we'll see two bullets at once. So the CEP, or Community Eligibility Provision, allows qualified schools to receive additional funding for students who were not previously identified for a free or reduced lunch. So basically, it gives a reimbursement to schools for all students to receive breakfast and lunch. Previously, in order for a school to qualify to be a CEP school, they needed to have an identified student percentage rate of at least 40%. Lake George did not qualify with that. However, in September, nationally, the USDA lowered that threshold from 40% to 25%. And as a result, we now qualify. We are at 25.27%. So we applied, we were accepted. What that means, as of November 1st, all students, regardless of income, the school will receive a reimbursement for breakfast and lunch for each and every student. It's important to understand that previously, before we were CEP, the school did receive funding. We did receive full funding for any student that was deemed free or reduced. So the additional funding is not for those students, because we were already receiving it. It's additional funding for the students that were full paid previously. And what that equates to is we receive an additional 15 cents for every breakfast that was previously paid for in full by students, and $1.05 for lunch. Looking at how has this gone, some feedback. I looked at 1 month so far since November 1st. It's going very well. Our breakfast participation rate has increased by 53%, which is huge. Our lunches have increased by 23%. You always expect increased participation. The breakfast is still going very strong, even into December like that. Students are complying with meal requirements. In order for it to be considered reimbursable, they have certain components they must take, which includes a fruit or a vegetable. And we do have a share basket, which is going well. Students are utilizing it instead of wasting. They can put it in the share basket, and often it's applesauce that then goes back to the backpack program. So they are getting additional food on weekends. If students wish to purchase additional items, a la carte items, then they are still required to pay for those and have funding in their lunch account in order to purchase that. And if there were any negative balances that were accrued prior to this, they still need to be rectified. So we're working with continuing to communicate with families, not only about all students are eligible for this, but also to work on cleaning up any possible negative balances. Some additional benefits that many people don't know. Often when you become a CEP school, parents and families don't fill out the paperwork to be eligible for what previously would have been free or reduced, because they're like, we're all getting it, so why fill out the paperwork? So it's important for schools to continue to communicate with parents and encourage them to fill out the paperwork, because it's not just centered around breakfast and lunch. Some additional benefits, if they fill out the income eligibility forms and qualify as college application, fees are waived. A
big one is your college board exam fee waivers. Some are free, some are reduced. So students can get SATs, PSATs, and AP exam waivers, either waived or reduced. There's definitely scholarship opportunities around the subgroup of students. Something new, and this gets communicated, we sent it out to families that qualified. There is a monthly connectivity discount. So we provide them with the information, and then the families, it's on them to pursue it, work with their internet provider to get a discount there. And there's also technology purchase discount, a one-time $100 reduction for technology. So yes, there's lots of benefits for the breakfast and the lunch, but these are additional benefits. However, families still need to complete the paperwork in order to qualify for that. And that is what I have. Any questions? Yes.
Shouldn't that students' families still need to clear up their negative balances? Do you have any idea of like what the total negative balance, like what would it take to wipe out all of the school?
We're always taking donations.
Yeah, that's why I'm at, that's kind of why, yeah, like what's out there? Like,
So our current students that are enrolled, it's about $1,500, anywhere between 12 and 1,500. But we do have some students that have moved away. And when they left or they graduated, we have that outstanding balance. So as of today, it was at $2,264.
all right.
I do check it.
I
But it
mean,
went down from 3,200.
yeah, and you're not chasing after them at, wherever they are, right? So it's the kids now who like, it affects more, the kids that are here.
Yeah, we don't,
That's right.
right,
okay,
we're correct.
Gotcha. They can't buy extra until they clear.
That
up
is
their debt.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
One question I had asked in audit finance when you were talking about this was, is there an effort by the district to make sure that families understand the need for application? And the answer was yes. So I was really
Yes.
happy to hear that, so that there's outreach to families so that they know that applying is important, so that they have other
Right.
opportunities.
And that's where the relationship with our counselors and social workers are really critical. And it's a tough situation because it's confidential information. So I can't have somebody come to me and say, can you tell me who's a free or reduced lunch? But Lake George being small and the relationship that we build with our families, our counselors, our social workers, our psychologists really get to know and get that comfortable relationship where they can even at times bring the application to the families.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Bonnie.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the public hearing Smart Schools Improvement Plan.
Yes, thank you, Katie. At this time, we'll open a public hearing for the Smart Schools Improvement Plan. As a reminder, last month, you heard from our Director of Curriculum Innovation, Technology and Innovation, Mrs. Coker, in regards to a Smart Schools application utilizing the remainder of our state allocation of $33,021 for the purchase of 23 LED projectors. So if there's any public comment, this would be an opportunity to do so. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the elementary update with Mr. Jim Conway, the principal.
So many great reports tonight. I will definitely be brief, but a happy holiday season to everybody. It's an exciting time, certainly in the district, but at the elementary school, there's a certain energy that comes with this time of year. I do want to recognize that on Saturday, the 2nd, we held our PTSO craft fair, the winter craft fair, and it was outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Luthringer, for being there. And we had a few hundred people that were there and kids involved in crafting, and PTSO is doing outstanding work. So I wanted to mention that. Also, we hosted a combination book fair and Hour of Code event. Jeff Bezon and Bridget Crossman collaborated on that last week, and we had a really nice turnout of families for both of those events. Keeping with that theme, our winter concert is this Thursday at 7 o'clock, featuring our third and fourth chorus and our fifth and sixth band and chorus. And the numbers, credit to Mallory Meyer and Mariah Nissen, they continue to grow. Despite us getting smaller, our percentage of kids that are participating in band and chorus continues to rise. So really excited about that. For time's sake, I'm going to give some updates in a future meeting on our progress, on our building level goals, and give some curriculum updates as well. I can assure you that our staff is working really hard with the initiatives that we have going on, and I'll have lots of good things to share. But I do want to mention what our Student Lead House team is working on. These are their tentative plans. I'll go through them quickly. I don't know exactly where they're going to wind up. They're talking about groups working towards a calming space in the school, a volleyball net on the playground, painting Lake George Elementary School somewhere on the white above the bricks on the exterior of the building, therapy dog day visit, waterproof LG logo, that's interesting, outside, possibly some sort of LED light. We don't know that all these things will happen yet. These are their plans. Zen garden upgrades, a reptile assembly for our school, bird identification in the hallways near the courtyard. There's lots of birds out there, and possibly on the nature trail, a fruit bar in the cafeteria. Look out, Chef Jeff. Tree swings out on the playground, and a musical performance of some sort, possibly like a cabaret that we held a few years back. So I'll give you updates on that as well. But more time will be devoted really towards what our staff is working towards and our building level goals. Great updates to share. And that's the report.
Thank you.
Questions?
Good. We'll look forward to that in the new year. Thanks,
Okay.
Tim.
Thanks.
Oh, Trish has something. Thank you.
Yes, Tricia.
When's the holiday sing-along?
Thursday. Oh, the holiday sing along. What day are we at? Wednesday? Wednesday at about 1:15.
That's it.
You're welcome to join us if you take the mic.
At the 21st, Wednesday, the 21st?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh,
20th. What's the last day?
oh, 20th. Okay.
Excited, sugared up, and to the buses.
Thank you for asking that, Trish. It's one of my favorite days of the school year. I love it. Okay, next on the agenda is our secondary update with Mr. Frank Acosa, the principal.
Good evening. So I shared my report with Sarah so she can incorporate that report into the minutes. It is just a summary of all the sports for the fall season. One note, in addition to everything that Sarah has in the minutes, is that all of our teams achieved the status of scholar athlete teams, which, as you know, means that their GPAs are equal to or greater to 90% or higher of 75% of the team or more. So it's a huge accomplishment, a huge kudos to our athletic department and our teachers and staff, and especially our student athletes. Sarah has the rest of the report.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report with Mr. John Lutheran.
Yes, thank you. I just have a couple of quick items here as well. Our planning for our universal pre-K program is continuing to move forward. We'll have a more thorough update in January, along with a resolution to adopt the program, knowing that work will continue on over the next several months leading up to September. Mr. Conway and I went over and met today with the preschool committee at Caldwell. So we're able to meet with actually a few parents, which was excellent, of parents that have children that are 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. There was quite a few. So we were able to present a similar presentation that we shared at the board meeting previously. And again, had great collaboration with Caldwell. We are forging ahead where we can find ways to work together, knowing that we will be creating our own program, our own pre-K program for September. And we anticipate being able to work very closely together over the next several months, informing each other of our numbers and things like that, so they can best plan as well. But the one sentiment that came out of that meeting that I think is very, very important to make note of is that everybody in the room was in complete agreement that The goal of both organizations, our school district and Caldwell, is to better our community. And by us having our own program, it provides access, it provides opportunity, and it provides our community with another option for preschool, early childhood education. And no one can argue with that. So that was the sentiment from the meeting, and we look forward to bringing some more information to the board in January. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is just one last thing. You may have seen recently Governor Hochul announcing a large grant to schools to offer school-based mental health clinics. Lake George is part of that grant. We already have a school-based mental health clinic through BHSN. The funding that's coming from the state goes directly to BHSN to offer those in-school clinics at no cost. So it is a great resource. I always think of the holidays at this time of year. It can be a very challenging time of year for adults, students. While it is a joyous time, it can also be a challenging time. So we do have tremendous resources to include our mental health clinic as well. So I just wanted to mention that we did receive funding for that, but it does go directly to BHSN. And lastly here, I just want to take a moment to recognize someone who is here as well. So we did get a recent acknowledgement, and I want to mention this is about Kyle Manny, our director of athletics. And when I think of this, what I'm going to mention here again, I really think of our mission as a school district, and the truly living our mission. And I talk about that a lot. And the part of this that I'm going to mention is really the idea of lifelong learning, empowering students to be lifelong learners. And our adults and our staff and our teachers are all lifelong learners who are constantly pursuing growth and knowledge and to better our school environment. So recently, the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association shared with us that Kyle Manny, our Director of Athletics at Lake George, has been recognized by this association as a certified master athletic administrator. So I'm just going to read a little bit about what that means. To earn this distinction, Kyle Manny has demonstrated exemplary knowledge, contributions, and ongoing professional development in the field of interscholastic athletic administration. The voluntary process included a thorough evaluation of the candidate's educational background, experience, his leadership, the courses he's taken, the professional contributions he's brought to athletics. It culminates with a practical written and oral presentation project. And Kyle Manny is one of a very elite group of interscholastic athletic administrators nationwide to attain this level of professionalism. So I just wanted to say, Kyle, thank you for continuing your efforts to grow and to help our district. And certainly, we appreciate all your contributions as our athletic director at Lake George. So thank you. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Audit and Finance Committee report. Mario Fasulo, who is the chair of that committee, will do that.
Rate just over 5%. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Better? Okay. But that interest rate at some point is going to start to slow down. So we just got to get used to that. We reviewed the claim auditors report. There was nothing really on there that we had to worry about. Property tax recon was almost done. This requires an internal record of actual money we got from taxes, star penalties to reconcile with the tax roll. Once it's done, then we'll review it and we'll approve it at this meeting. Unpaid taxes, like I said, are turned over to the counties at the end of the collection period, and the taxes are then relieved on the January property tax bills. And if the taxes still remain unpaid, then the counties are required to make the district whole by April 1st. So again, we're lucky that it's not our responsibility. We reviewed the P&L, which is profit and loss for the food service operation. The general fund transferred transferred $30,000 over, which we do every year. That's a regular process that we do. And the federal funds provided free breakfast and lunch to all students. Although the lunch operation resulted in a net loss of 38, factoring the profit from a la carte and additional grants and allocations. Bonnie, I appreciate you doing the CEP review. That was better than what I would have been able to explain. And when Bonnie talked to us about it at the meeting, one of the things that we found out about that we didn't know was the additional benefits other than just the free breakfast or the free lunch, the college application fees, the exam fees, the connectivity and technical benefits. That's stuff that we didn't know came with it. So I appreciate her reviewing that. And she hit all of the bullets on here. The only thing I want to add to this that was not on the notes, and it has nothing to do with our meeting. I travel a lot for work, and I'm in Vermont probably like 3 days a week, and I'm listening to the radio. And the school districts in Vermont are increasing. I don't know if you heard this or not, Bonnie, but the school districts in many towns in Vermont are increasing their budget by over 12%. The governor's going ballistic over it because that's a huge increase. The reason that their budgets are increasing is because they took all that money during COVID and created positions, which now they want to keep on going. I've said it many times, I'll say it again. We are lucky that we didn't do that. We put in HVAC or the building or this or that, which once it's done, it's done. And they want to, and again, to the business office, to the administrators, we're lucky that we made those decisions because we're not looking at cutting headcount. We're just going to keep on going the way we have, and we've been able to improve our facilities. So thank you for that. And that's all I got.
Questions? Thank you, Mario. The next item on the agenda is the Building and Grounds Committee report. Janine Bieber is the chair of that committee and will give that report.
All right, thank you. So first of all, you might, if you look at the minutes for the report that Bonnie put together, she included a copy of a presentation that, a slide presentation that she also put together for us for the Buildings and Grounds meeting. And that was phenomenal. Thank you so much, Bonnie. For example, I'm going a little bit out of order, but the report out on the HVAC project and how that is going in terms of how many units have now been placed in the elementary school, the high school, what will be coming up during the summer and, as time is progressing. There is a color-coded presentation of both buildings that show exactly how many, where the units are that have been already put in, what units are coming to us, and also she color-coded them so they go along with which capital outlay it goes with. So it's just, it's a great resource, and thank you very much for doing that, Bonnie. That was great. And so so to speak on that, we're in very good shape with the HVAC project, even with some challenges, et cetera. It's been moving along on time with all the units being placed in the buildings as they're supposed to be. There are some additional challenges coming up, but they're planned for, and everything is looking like it's going to be going on schedule. So that's wonderful. I skipped around a little bit because I wanted to highlight that presentation, but Kevin Parrott also reported, and I enjoyed his report, especially because it focused on really the commitment to safety in terms of both campuses, our elementary school and our high school, with respect to our students, our faculty, et cetera. So really dedicating a lot of time, money, effort into projects that enhance the safety of our buildings, our district, et cetera. Also, what was a great theme was that it was also stressed that there is a great flourishing partnership between the school district and the town and the village. And so that collaboration seems to be strengthening over time. And you guys were talking about everything from putting up the new stand at the football field, as well as the soccer goals, et cetera, and how the town has come in to help in some difficult situations where they were happy to help out. So that was really nice to hear. Of course, another large part of the meeting was that we did have our representatives from Tetra Tech, also the construction manager, and McDurway from Schoolhouse Construction, all at the meeting, giving us updates in terms of the bus garage facility. And that's becoming more exciting. The necessary paperwork to get this project officially going will be submitted to the New York State Department of Education in January. And so that means that if all goes well, we should be able to be put out for bid in the fall of 2024 and building in 2025. So there was an extensive presentation, looked at the design of the buildings again. It was very informative, and I feel very good about the people that we have working with the district to help us this endeavor. I'll end there.
Thank you, Janine. Does anybody have questions? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our Culture and Climate Committee report, and Rosemary Earl is going to give that.
Thanks, Katie. Our Culture and Climate Committee met on November 14th. Pretty much we focused on two things. We reviewed our committee charge, what was something we all agreed on in the group, to send finalize the charge and send it on to Katie. So that's done. We went over the climate survey results, and this was, I don't know if it was a couple days after they had actually given the survey, or it was a couple days after they met about the survey, but they were still discussing, the administrators are still discussing some things about the survey, and I've listed all those things on the minutes that you can look at. I thought there was interesting to note there are several things to celebrate out of the survey, that every student can feel valued and connected to the school community and supported by a caring adult. That's amazing. That the majority of staff feel connected to the school community and supported by each other, which is equally amazing. And that 100% of the staff agree that the staff work hard to make sure students do well, and that there's a positive perception of our school is higher than the national average. So, those things are really something to point out and something to celebrate. Some things they want to focus on in the next survey. I think they want to change the surveys from the fall to the spring. They feel that that would be a better time to give it and then work on some of the items in the following year. Yeah, there's some things they wanted to focus on with the student. Well, students feel that maybe they treat that others maybe don't treat others fairly, but they feel like they're treating others fairly. I think it's just a perception of seeing other people communicating and them communicating, just an internal witnessing of others' behaviors. So I think that they want to work on that with some of the kids. Always students showing respect to each other, regardless of appearance. I mean, that's something I always work on. And improve teacher communication with parents. So that was pretty much what we talked about, the survey and the charge. And we will be meeting in the spring to talk about some of the action steps that they decided to take out of the survey and out of their next meeting that they had. So I'm not sure what those were yet. So anyway, those are minutes. Thank you. Any questions?
I was very sick today in the committee.
Thank you, Donna. Our next item on the agenda is the Policy Committee report. Mary Ann McKenzie's the chair of that committee, and we'll give that report.
Okay. So tonight there are 5 policies moving forward to second read. Each of those was discussed at last month's board meeting. And there are 8 policies being recommended to first read this evening. Of those 8, 6 of them are in a category of policies that center around special education. Prior to the, I'm sorry, all of them were reviewed by the policy committee per our manual review. And those 6, which I'll go through individually in a moment, they were looked at the district level prior to them coming to the policy committee. So Chris Mandela did a lot of work making sure that we were in good shape before we took a look at it in committee. So of those 6 that are in that category of special ed, 5 of them had really nothing more being recommended than very minor wordsmithing adjustments. And those are 7612, grouping by similarity of need, 7614, preschool special ed program and updated references. Excuse me, preschool special ed program. We updated the references on that policy. Excuse me. 7620, students with disabilities participating in school district programs. 7621, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. And 7643, transfer students with disabilities. And as I said, they're very minor wordsmithing adjustments. Nothing substantive is being recommended to change. And policy 7610, special education district plan. We did add, we are recommending some added language just to underline that any change to the allocation of space for special ed programs will take into consideration for students with disabilities, their needs in terms of providing a least restrictive environment, as well as maintaining the stability and continuity of placements. In addition, with that particular policy, special education district plan, we, through the process of our review, we realized that plan is due for review and update. And that's a pretty lengthy document and project that will be addressed over the course and until next summer, probably through collaborative district level committee work. So we can look forward to that. And that's just one of the nice things sometimes about policy. You know, we kind of look at things and it gives us the opportunity to say, oh, where are we at with that? And so, so now we have a nice new process underway to get that in shape. The other 2 policies that are on the list for first read tonight are 7440, student voter registration and pre-registration. And that came to the policy committee by way of Erie 1 BOCES update. And that the suggested changes are a reflection of the amendments to election law, section 5-507. And they're suggesting that we add language requiring districts to have policies and procedures for providing access to voter registration and pre-registration applications, and to provide assistance filing those applications, and to provide information to students of the New York State requirements for voter registration and pre-registration. That's what that policy is putting forward. And then the last policy on the list is 1330, which is appointments, designations, authorizations by the board. We are recommending a name change, but I'm going to back up for just a moment and tell you how this policy is before us. Last month, Erie One BOCES has recommended that the district consider retiring policy 4211, which is the organizational chart. And the reason that they are recommending that is because they felt that it is really more procedurally based rather than policy. And the policy committee had the opportunity to reflect on that. And while, you know, we acknowledge that it is procedural, we also really like the idea of some of our recurring responsibilities and accountability measures being located in policy, because it helps us, it reminds us of, you know, what we're supposed to do and then to be accountable to it. And so with a little bit of reluctance to let it go, then we suddenly reflected more broadly that there are other documents, not just the organizational chart, that have that the board has recurring obligations to maintain and oversee. And so that will take us now to policy 1330, which is a policy that lists, you know, recurring board obligations that relate to appointments, designations, and authorizations. And we thought, well, let's take these sort of guiding documents that we have recurring responsibilities for and see if that can find a suitable home in this policy. So we're recommending that we change the title to include and recurring reviews and adoptions by the board. So at the end of that policy, those documents are listed, and that's where the suggested changes live. And so they include things like reviewing and adopting annually the written curriculum. There are a handful of policies that we're required to review annually. Those are listed here. Our shared decision-making plan, we're responsible for maintaining that every 2 years. The district code of conduct as an annual responsibility. The district-wide school safety plan and building level emergency response plan, also annually required. And then underneath that, we've listed the organizational chart, our responsibilities regarding the building level student attendance records, and review of our RTI, response to intervention practices. Most of the things that are listed are required. Some of them are best practices, and that's designated, that's noted in this list. But again, it helps us to have a sense, you know, not just for the moment, but for going forward, there's a home where these things live that we can be referring to. And I think it just helps, you know, keep us in focus, because otherwise you're just kind of like, you know, they're out there. And I know that at the district level, there are systems that these things are maintained and monitored through, but I think it helps for board members too, to be able to look into our policy and have a sense of that. So and the other thing we added, just as looking at this policy, reviewing the whole policy, not just adding that extra language, we added under designations, the letter J, data protection officer, because that was a piece that came in with the EdLaw 2D EdLaw. We have an obligation to appoint a data protection officer, and that's the superintendent. And so we added that. Does that make sense, what we did with that policy? Okay. So that's the recommendation, and that's the end of my report. Questions?
Thank you, Mary Ann. And that was a great explanation of 1330 and how that came to be. That was awesome. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our first of two public comments. This section is for items pertaining to the agenda. And Sarah said nobody has signed up for public comment. If anyone would like to make a public comment and did not sign up, you're welcome to do so. We have a sign up sheet just because it allows us to be organized and have the information to be able to get back to folks in a timely manner and have their information. Is there anyone who is interested in public comment? Okay, thank you. We will move on to our school business consent agenda. First item on the school business consent agenda. Thanks, John.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the school business consent agenda items A through L. In summary, item A is a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Item B is our minutes on committee or recommendations on Committee on Special Education. Item C and D refer to the treasurer's report and claims auditor's report. Items E and F are in reference to tax collections and tax claims. Item G is our motion regarding the policies moving forward to our policy of 2 readings. Item H is a motion to authorize the administration to take action to submit an application to Section 2 of NISFA for the express purpose of combining our merger of Lake George Central School District, Warrensburg Central School District, and Bolton Central School District to form a singular modified junior varsity and varsity football team for the 2024-25 football season. Item I is a motion to accept a gift in the amount of $500 from the Exxon Mobil Educational Alliance to benefit our junior senior high school math and/or science. Item J is a motion in regards to the Smart Schools Bond Act plan you heard about tonight and last month. And item K is a motion to accept the appointment on the Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education. And item L is a motion to appoint surrogate parents for special education or preschool special education. Both of those had an update.
We have a motion.
Second.
Are there any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is advocacy priorities for the 2024 legislative session.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the following resolution. This resolution is in reference to the district's support of advocate priorities for New York State legislator and Governor Kathy Hochul to act upon the following priorities. Number one is to increase the $30,000 threshold on BOCES aid for career and technical education teachers to $60,000. Number two references workforce development in flexibility of teacher certification requirements to allow districts to have additional flexibility, and adjustments to Tier 6 of the retirement system to help districts retain staff by making longevity more valuable. Number three is to increase the spending limit for the capital outlays to $250,000 annually beginning the next school year. Number four is to continue to fund and adjust the foundation formula. And 5 pertains to zero emission buses.
Do we have a motion? Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the section is the faculty staff recognitions, and we have the faculty staff resignation consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff resignations consent agenda items A through B. Items A is a motion to accept the resignation of William Parker from the position of cleaner nights. Item B is a motion to accept the resignation of Tanya Smith from the position of teaching assistant effective December 31st.
Do we have a motion? Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you to those folks for your service to the district. The next item on the agenda is the faculty staff appointments consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff consent appointments, items A through C. All three of these motions pertain to existing staff members moving to the permanent position in civil service. So item A is a motion to appoint Dane Davis to the permanent position of Informational Technology Support Technician. Item B is a motion to appoint Janine Way to the permanent position of Information Technology Support Technician. And item C is a motion to appoint Leanne Johnson to the permanent position of School Secretary.
Have any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Katie, I would like to just recognize Dane.
Thank you, Dane.
Thank you, Dane, and congratulations on becoming permanent.
I think I said any opposed. All right, any abstaining? Motion carries. Yes, congratulations to all of you for your appointments today. And thank you for your many years of service already. The next item on the agenda is our second public comment section. Do we have any, Sarah? Okay, we didn't have anybody who signed up. Anybody who's inspired at this point? Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a proposed executive session. Oh, board comments and discussion. Sorry, guys. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
I just, I wasn't here in person last month, but I was watching kind of the board meeting and there was a member of the public, I think her name was Carrie, who was talking about the late buses. And I appreciate how like since that, in just in the past month, you have sent us some information about the changes that you're looking into making, like how responsive you've been to that concern. And it sounds like there may be some changes being made and like, it's great. I'm so grateful to Carrie for coming up and letting us know about the issues so that we could make the changes. So like, it was good to see one of these meetings, you know, really work that way. So thank you for your responsiveness and thank you to Carrie for bringing up the issue.
Thank you, Donna. Yeah, that's a great point. To anybody else? Trish, are you okay? And thank you, Mary Ann, for helping me not pass over an agenda item. So now the next item on the agenda is the proposed executive session. The Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District proposes entering into an executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular employee. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. We do not expect to come back out of executive session into an open meeting. So thank you again for folks who were with us tonight. And hopefully we'll see you next month.